Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the regularly scheduled City Commission meeting for Lynn Haven. This is Tuesday, March the 28th. I'd like to welcome all of you here this evening. And at this time, if you would, Mr. Don Jackson is going to lead us in our invocation. If you would stand, please. Thank you.
Let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for this day that you've blessed us again here with in Lynn Haven and Bay County, Florida. Lord, please have an extra hand of protection on our police officers and first responders as they go out and do their business in the city and in Bay County and throughout the country. Lord, we just want to thank you so much for the city commissioners and mayor and the staff that serve for the citizens of Lynn Haven, and we also want to thank you for all the citizens that come out and participate in local government. We ask you just to have your hand on everyone as they speak tonight and put words of wisdom in their hearts and minds and mouths. Lord, do these things in your name. Amen.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Item number 3 on tonight's agenda is the mayor's report, and I just wanted to speak to a couple of different things. First of all, we had a very successful first ever Spring Jazz Festival on Saturday, March the 18th. If you were able to attend, I hope that you had a wonderful time. I know I did. We had 4 live bands there performing and lots of neighbors and friends out participating. I would particularly like to thank our Leisure Services Director, Maria Stout-Tate. If you would please stand and let us recognize you with a round of applause for you and your staff. And also ask for your continued thoughts and prayers for our events coordinator, Tracy Johnson, who just one day before the event was notified of a tragic loss in her family. And so if you could just keep her in your prayers and thoughts, that would be wonderful. Also this evening, I spoke with him earlier today, and he said he was feeling a little better, but Leon Miller often brings our invocation and participates in these meetings, and he is in Gulf Coast Hospital undergoing some tests, and ask for your thoughts and prayers as well. Another wonderful event that I got to take part in was Women's History Month out at the Naval Coastal Systems Center, and I was able to speak to a really nice group about women as trailblazers in labor and business, and we had a very a wonderful discussion and time of fellowship together as we talked about Women's History Month. I want to remind you that Thursday night of this week, the League of Women's Voters will be hosting a candidates forum for the upcoming Lynn Haven elections. Many of our candidates and, of course, our incumbents are here this evening, and just keep them in your thoughts as well during this week. And if you'd like to attend that forum to learn more about the candidates, that is at Kaleidoscope Theater at 6 p.m. Thursday, March the 30th. And then I need to read our proclamation for Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Margot D. Anderson, Mayor of the City of Lynn Haven, do hereby proclaim April 28, 2017 as Arbor Day in the city of Lynn Haven, Florida. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the city of Lynn Haven, Florida, to be affixed this 28th day. I've got 2 dates. Is this 28th day of March or April that we're declaring?
April.
Thank you. On this, I'm affixing my seal on this 28th day of March, but I'm declaring it for April 28th. Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion for acceptance of this proclamation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so the proclamation has been approved. At this time, we will move to the Commissioner's report. Commissioner Shad, do you have a report to share?
Yes, I too attended the Jazz Festival. I went early. I did not stay all day. While it was a good first effort, I was disappointed in the turnout of the crowd. I understand it picked up later in the afternoon. It would appear to me that something like that, the better venue would be to have it in the park as opposed to on the street. That way people could bring their chairs and sit down and listen to the music. The jazz festivals that they put on in the St. Andrews area use that kind of format. The one in Pensacola does. And I'm not being critical of the city staff. I've already talked to her, about the thought. If we don't learn when we do these things, we don't know how to improve. So I think it has the potential of being very, very good and very, very nice for the city. But I would suggest that in our planning next year that we consider having it in the park.
And along those same lines of thoughts, I think part of the, as you said, the turnout increased in the evening, and we did have a large amount in the evening, and I think people would attend better if it didn't start so early when it's hot, too. I think the evening cool air, the hours help, because we went from 4 to 8, and I had many people suggest that maybe we did 6 to 10 or 5 to 9 or something like that. But I thank you for your suggestion, Mr. Shad, Commissioner Shad. Did you have anything else? I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ashbrook?
I have no report.
Thank you. Commissioner Barnes?
I have no report.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. If you allow me just a quick personal note, my wife and I celebrated our 29th wedding anniversary, married to my beautiful wife and best friend.
Congratulations.
So 29 years. Thank you, Mayor.
Congratulations.
But also, I will be traveling next week on behalf of the TPO for the MPOAC meeting. So if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to contact me and I can fill you in on more of that if you'd like. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 5 brings us to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 items. One, just announcing the stop for the cops at the donut shop. Say that 10 times. That is this Saturday, April 1st, at the Dunkin' Donuts from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There are a lot of free and fun activities. If you need any details, Officer Anglin is in the back of the room. But this is yet another outreach program to provide citizens to come out and speak with our officers if they have any issues, but also a lot of free activities. It's family activity, and also whatever proceeds they do obtain are going to the Special Olympics again. So thanks to our PD for putting that on. The only other thing I had is I wanted to announce that our next meeting would be April 11th. And because of early voting, this building will be occupied for the whole week. So we have moved it over to the Senior Center. So April 11th at 4 o'clock is our next commission meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. The city attorney's report is item number 6.
Yes, ma'am. I have 2 quick items. The first one is an update from the fall. Before you, there's a quitclaim deed and a sketch of some easements. Last fall, the commission approved exchanging easements with the property owner just north of Mosley Drive on 77, Mr. Shaw. At the time, he was going to he was under contract to sell some property and develop I think a nursing home or assisted living facility. That has kind of fallen apart. And at the time, we had the commission had approved exchanging easements with the future property owner. The city still wants to go forward and exchange easements and get a deed in exchange for a lift station. So Mr. Shaw has presented a quitclaim deed for the commission's approval for the lift station and a new plan for the easements. And so if we could get a motion to approve accepting the quitclaim deed and the easements.
Okay. Is there a motion at this time to approve the quitclaim deed and the easement spoken of by the city attorney?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board or further questions for the city attorney? Any comments or questions from the public regarding this? There appear to be none. So, Mr. Schubert, if you would please call the roll for approval.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so the motion stands approved. Thank you.
And the second item is regarding the upcoming election. As I'm sure you all know, the city is the judge of its own election per the charter, and one of the responsibilities the commission has is to appoint the canvassing board. Traditionally, what we have done is appointed the board of the commissioners that were not up for election, and that would be this year the mayor, Mr. Barnes, and Mr. Friend. In addition, we would request an alternate canvassing board member. In that case would be Mark Anderson, supervisor of election. And so that's the proposed canvassing board, that following kind of what we've done in the past. And if we get a motion to approve that, or if the commission has other ideas.
Is there a motion to approve?
Also move. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board regarding the makeup of the canvassing board? Any discussion or questions from the public? Thank you. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Shad.
Aye.
Commissioner Friend.
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes.
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so the motion stands approved.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. So that completes the city attorney's report. The next item on this evening's agenda is our consent agenda. What I'll do is read items 7, 8, and 9 and ask for a motion for approval for all 3 items and a second, then ask for discussion, and then if the public has any discussion or questions on any of those 3 items, you'll have an opportunity to do that as well. So the consent items, item number 7, the minutes from the March 14th regular meeting. Item number 8 is the approval of the 4th of July parade route. Item number 9 is the approval of the liquid sludge hauling contract. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions or concerns from the board on any of these 3 items?
I have a question on item 9.
Okay.
In reading through the contract, and it may be something I just don't understand, it refers to, at least I thought it did, monthly sludge removal. Is that true? They're going to do it on a monthly basis?
That's true, isn't it, Bobby? Weekly?
Weekly, yeah. Weekly? But we pay them on a monthly basis. Okay. That answers my question.
Okay, are there any other questions on any of these items from the board or concerns? Are there any questions or concerns from the public regarding any of these items? Yes, sir, if you'll please approach the podium. And when you are coming forward for comments, would you please make sure you speak directly into the microphone so everyone can hear? Thank you.
Name is Brad Yunt, 210 Lakeview Terrace. And on the liquid sludge hauling contract, as I read through the contract, I did not see where the sludge was going and who was going to take care of it. And early in my career, I was in waste treatment, and we own that sludge until it totally degrades. So if the hauler takes it to Billy Bob's farm and it causes a problem when Billy Bob sells the land off and somebody else wants to develop it and it's a toxic waste site, that they come back to us if they can find us and say, remedy it. And that can be quite expensive. And it's incumbent on us to make sure that the sludge is taken care of properly. So the question is, did I miss something in the contract, or did the contract be silent on that?
And I will have to pass that question to either the city attorney or the public works director, who may have the answer to that question. Which direction?
Where they haul it, Bobby?
Well, I mean, there's an indemnification and insurance clause here. Yeah.
I apologize. I don't know the answer to your question.
Sorry, yeah,
Brad.
there is it was in the bid package itself. They have a designated 100-acre farm. It's out toward Weewaw that they do. It's a DEP permitted site that they're required to carry it to. And their permits are up to date. So, but there is a designated 100 acres that it's land farmed is what it is.
Okay, so that's the where.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the liability goes, they are required to indemnify the city for any damages or claims that are brought, and they also require to have $1 million of insurance, liability insurance.
Correct.
If,
They've been hauling our sludge
well,
probably 10,
and
12
to that
years.
point, there was actually an accident, last month in a neighboring
Callaway.
city where it went in a resident's yard, and we're not being named in a lawsuit.
Correct. So they have been hauling our sludge for many years, same company.
Okay. Thank you for bringing up that point, and thank you for your answers, Mr. Attorney and Mr. Baker. Any other questions or comments on items 7 through 9? Okay, there's been a motion and a second then. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll for approval?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so the motion stands approved for the consent agenda. Thank you. Okay, then moving on to old business, and this is an item that I actually placed on the agenda for the second time. 2 years ago, approximately, I placed an actionable item for using golf carts in many areas of Lynn Haven, and that did not gain approval. But since that time, we've had some changes, and I've had many residents to continue to contact me and ask when we would bring it back before the commission, or could we bring it back before the commission for some further discussion. So I just wanted to first bring up why I would be putting it back on the agenda, since it did not receive a favorable vote the last time. If you notice the map when you came in the back hallway, it looks similar to this, and there's also a map before you. Thank you, Ian, for projecting that for everyone to see. And the legend on the map, the blue areas, other than the water, of course, is blue, but the other blue areas are those areas in Lynn Haven which currently allow golf carts. And then the yellow, or the sort of pink area, it's a slightly lighter shade of pink up in the left-hand screen, is the CRA area, which is the old historic, basically, part of Lynn Haven. And then the pink areas show the city limits. And then there's also a handout on the back table, it's green, that lists all the neighborhoods which currently allow golf carts to be operated. And if you've read the city ordinance, which there is a copy of that at the back as well, 66.6, it allows golf carts either in neighborhoods that have a golf course, which there are 2 of those, or allows transportation by golf cart within a half-mile radius of that. But as you can see, there are a lot of blue areas where there's not a golf course where people are allowed to ride golf carts, and so that's why there's been discussion, why is this neighborhood allowed and this other neighborhood not. And so what I'm going to ask, just as a proposal this evening, and hopefully maybe get a first and a second for what I'm asking, would be that we would just extend this same privilege to any neighborhood in Lynn Haven with a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. And if you think about that, that excludes, of course, the state and county roads. And it also excludes, I know in the CRA, 7th Street has a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit. I believe 26th Street has a 35-mile-per-hour speed limit. So there are some streets which just naturally exclude themselves. There's also language in the ordinance that speaks to the crossing of the state or county roads, which would be something that could be worked out later if this should pass this evening. The county, the last time we brought this up, indicated their willingness to grant some type of crossing on their 2 county roads. And the only other place where there's really a viable crossing of 77 is right by City Hall. But we already use that crossing for even children to cross from the school. We use it for wheelchairs, we use it for bicycles, we use it for runners, and so it would just need to be designated by FDOT as a golf cart crossing. And that's something, you know, we probably need to look at making some more viable crossings, not only for golf carts if they should be approved, but also for people who, we have a lot of, as we talked about, we're trying to promote our CRA area as being a vibrant walking community where we can enjoy neighbors and friends and slow down the pace quite a bit. And then the other comment that was made to me recently by someone who lives in the country club area, and not picking on the country club, but it's one of the areas where golf carts are allowed. There's one entrance to the country club, and that was one of the reasons it was granted. But if you think about it, there are 400 residents coming in and out of that one entrance, and some of them not always at a slow rate of speed, yet golf carts have been operating there for a long time. So there's probably more traffic coming in and out of that country club entrance than there are on many of the more slow-paced streets within the old CRA, which, full disclosure, I live on the corner of 6th and Tennessee. And so as I'm speaking of my neighborhood as well. So what I was asking this evening is just a reconsideration of this in light of the fact that we've added several festivals which have gone very well. The Hermit Crab Festival, the Spring Jazz Festival. We added a Christmas parade on Florida Avenue. Many people spoke to me on that day and wanted to know, this would really make this really nice if we could have pulled up to the street on our golf cart. And during the 4th of July parade, we had many people on golf carts, some of us even sitting on this podium, who rode golf carts from Kensall Park all the way to Sheffield Park, crossed Highway 77, rode on streets which were not included in, the golf cart ordinance. So, to make ourselves follow the city ordinance, it might be prudent that we change it. Also, the fact that we've had virtually no golf cart issues in Lynn Haven. We've had one of the arguments last time, well, kids were riding on golf carts. Well, that was a parenting issue. People drive crazy on golf carts. Probably if you drive crazy on a golf cart, you do in your car too. Those kinds of things. So anyway, I just wanted to bring it back up, and hopefully if we could have a motion and a second to consider approval of granting golf cart operation to any street within the city limits of Lynn Haven with a 25 mile per hour or under. Is there anyone who would bring the motion for possible approval? Well, you're not allowed to. I'm sorry. It has to come from the board. But thank you for your thank you for your spirit there. Well, let me try one other thing. I'll just pass the gavel over to the Mayor Pro Tem so that I can make a motion. So pass it over to Commissioner Barnes, who now becomes the Mayor Pro Tem. And I would like to make a motion that the Commission consider for approval and consider listening to discussion of why granting a 25 mile an hour street approval of golf carts throughout the city of Lynn Haven would be a viable and let me just try to reword that again. I would like to make a motion that we would change the city ordinance by the language of where golf carts would be allowed to include all city streets within the city limits with a 25 mile per hour or less speed limit, excluding state and county roads. Could I get a second?
Okay, excuse me.
Mayor.
We will have order in here. I know this is a passionate subject, but we're not going to get out of hand in discussing this matter. You will have an opportunity to come to the podium. You will have 3 minutes to talk, make your statement, but we're not going to get out of order.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may.
Just a minute. Motion has been made. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Motion been made by second. Any discussion from the commission?
Yes, sir, Mayor Pro Tem, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
I think, Mayor, and since it's your issue, I'll speak to you directly if that's okay, even though Mayor Pro Tem stepped in.
And if I could just rephrase, it's not my issue, but it's the issue that the people have asked me to bring.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I understand. Thank you. I'm in full support of golf carts. I brought the issue of golf carts in 2011. And just for the record, and I've said it in the past, the way we got to where we are with the neighborhoods is there were safety concerns at the time, so it did not pass. The previous city manager and I worked together, the previous city manager than I worked together. We put together the plan for allowing golf carts on the enclosed neighborhoods with one way in and one way out, and then, of course, the golf course areas. So that's how we did it the first time. We came to a compromise, and it passed unanimously, I believe. I don't recall that for the record. But I would, if it doesn't pass tonight, I was going to ask that we table it and do a workshop. I'd like to see a workshop. I think what we did last time, I thought we agreed that we would do a workshop. I personally have been working on a plan. This kind of fits into the plan that I've been working on. I've worked with city manager, worked with city engineer. I've talked to a few residents. I'd like to talk to more. The issue that I have with the current plan or proposal on the table tonight is not all of the roads in Lynn Haven that are 25 or less. I don't think we should have golf carts on those roads. And I'll give you an example. Is 5th Street, for instance, as it goes and travels into the industrial park. That's a truck route. And we've heard from some of the industry companies out there, even in the past when we talked about putting the school out there at the old Sally Mae building. So they had concerns in the past with, and I've talked to residents out there, General Dynamics, we already have some issues with speeding on some of those roads already. So I'll reveal part of my plan tonight, but I'm not ready. But I certainly could be ready within 30 days to do a workshop and try to come to a consensus. But I had roads that I thought that we might want to exclude. So not all the roads, I guess my point is not all the roads that are 25 or less, I think would be safe for golf carts. And then trying to work through some of those, how do you get from here to here without it? And I've even heard from people tonight that said that it might not work so well. So anyway, that's why with the current proposal, I'm not sure I could support it tonight, but I really want a workshop. The other issue that I have with tonight is, and I know it's been 2 years, but we had some opposition to it last time, and I'd like to allow. I know we probably got a lot of people that are in favor of it here tonight, but we had a lot of people that were opposed to it last time, and I'd like for us to give more notice that we're going to bring up this issue. It is an ordinance, it's a law, and so I just think that if we don't pass it tonight, that I'd like for us to put a workshop on the schedule that we can come together, sit around the table, and try to come to a consensus as a commission. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I can just bring up one technical issue. The commission can't amend the code by motion. It has to be by ordinance. So even if something were to pass tonight or fail, it's not going to really affect the code at all. We'll have to come back and bring an ordinance and have 2 readings and go through that process, and then nothing will change until the ordinance passes that changes the code.
But we could technically, if we wanted to go forward and say that we would move in the direction of any street.
Yeah, certainly, the
25 miles per
commission
hour,
could instruct us to bring an ordinance back.
And
yes.
if I could respectfully just comment on Commissioner Friend's comment about 5th Street, because 5th Street and Tennessee Avenue, those 2 streets, basically are the 2 streets that led me 2 years ago to run for the position of mayor. And it was because I had come before the board many, many times about the fact that people turn onto 5th Street off of Highway 77 to avoid the traffic lights. And 5th Street goes by Mrs. Tennell's house, it goes by some other neighbors, and then they turn left on Tennessee. And I don't like to hear 5th Street called an industrial street. It also leads to Kensaw Park, where the children are going to play. Tennessee Avenue goes past my house, where many senior citizens, including myself, live. And this board has the power to put a stop sign or a speed brake wherever they choose by Florida statute. They can do it in one meeting because they did it on the corner where I lived. They put another stop sign just by a vote by the commission. So constantly, not only about golf carts, but I have residents calling me complaining that people are speeding in their neighborhoods, not just my street, but over on 17th, on Wyoming, on 12th Street, where that does lead to the industrial park, people speeding going to work. And while I don't want Lynn Haven to become a speed trap, I also want 25 miles per hour to mean 25 miles per hour, because our children play, our senior citizens live there. And so if our speed limits are enforced the way they should be enforced in our neighborhoods, then golf carts should not be an unsafe way to travel. Neither should a bicycle, neither should walking, and neither should backing onto the street. So I just wanted to say that about, I don't like to hear 5th Street or Tennessee called an industrial or a truck route, because it's not. It's the neighborhood where I live. It's not a truck route. Does anyone else have a comment?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Wait a second. There's too many commissioners trying to talk. Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may. I apologize, Mayor, if I offended you with that.
Well, it doesn't offend me. I just feel strongly about it. I'm not offended by it at all.
I understand. Well, if then that's a separate issue. I would only suggest that further down on 5th Street that we remove the signs that say truck route. So in that area, that's what it is. So that's all.
Where would that sign be? That says truck route
one
on
of those
5th Street?
roads. It's down there closer to closer to the industrial park. There's 2 signs that say truck route.
There's not an industrial park on Fifth Street. There is
Maybe
a sewer.
I apologize, Mayor. I may have the wrong road right off the
I
top of
think
my
you
head.
do.
Okay.
Well, in Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, just one last thing. If we don't pass the ordinance tonight, I would like to let everyone know that I want to talk to as many people as I can for this issue, and I'll be standing over here after the meeting tonight and be glad to talk to you about it. Thank you.
Thank you for your
Mayor Pro Tem.
openness. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'd like to say I'm in favor of expanding it. There are a couple of areas that I think are worthy of further discussion. I've heard several people that have emailed me that have concerns about expanding it so that you could take a golf course over the old Bailey Bridge. And I mean, the little things like that, then I think it would be worthy of us to spend some time to clean up so that we fully understand, what we're doing. We also talked tonight about the accepting the old fuel depot and the traffic that may be coming there. So, I'm not against expanding it, okay? But I think it's worth another workshop to get some of these things up on the table so that we can discuss them and then carve out some things if we need to.
Anyone else from the commission?
I'd like to, yeah. I'm not adverse to looking at areas to expand. I've talked with a couple of people over on the west side that, they'd like to drive down to Kinsall Park and that sort of stuff, and that's fine. I think our ordinance is flawed. There are many aspects of it that need to be revised, and I think we probably should take a look at revising the ordinance. Not as it pertains to areas of operation of the carts, which again, I'm okay with taking that over to the west side. But there are other areas that strain that ordinance, because I live in an area where they do where you don't have people who are accountable for their golf carts, ascertaining who owns the golf cart, who's supposed to be responsible for it, whether little Billy's out pulling his friend with a rope on a skateboard. It runs the gamut. And it goes back to just a human condition, I guess, is inconsideration of people who operate, whether it's a golf cart or anything else. If a golf cart's only capable, as a standard cart is about 15 miles an hour until you put a chip in it, and if you get it up to 20 or 25, you've got to legalize it for road use, okay? I can give all that from Panama City carts. But the problem is you have people who drive and don't have mirrors and see a car that wants to go 25 behind them, and they don't have the courtesy to pull over or to give way to a licensed highway vehicle. So I just would like to look at the ordinance before we expand, but I'm more than agreeable if we can answer the questions and get the ordinance fine-tuned, then by all means, let's go ahead and open it up. I don't have that. That's not an issue, okay? I just have seen and live in an area where you have irresponsible people operating very nice, high-priced recreational vehicles that aren't licensed for the highway, and that's fine. But the fellows that I've talked with over on the west side, they're an afternoon drive with their wife or their grandchildren. They want to take them down the park. That's great. As long as they do it responsibly and we have some teeth in an ordinance that we can enforce it when we have somebody, and there will be somebodies, who want to abuse it.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem? Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, Mayor, you're correct, and I apologize. It's 12th Street is the street that I was referring to.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Ian? Last week, I was out on Panama City Beach. And this particular golf cart was in Middle Beach Road, and that particular golf cart almost caused 2 accidents. Now, I bring this to your attention from the fact that I am opposed to golf carts, but I will listen. And I am not prepared to vote on this tonight because I think it's trying to be rushed through. I think we need to gather our thoughts together, sit down as rational people, and work out any kinks to be worked out. And I'm agreeable to that. I'll listen. I don't want you to just think I'm just going to just say no. But I look at this from a safety standpoint because safety is first. And we've had our police department that has come before this commission, and they've given testimony to the fact that it's not safe. And they have enough to deal with out there without adding any additional duties. And put that picture back up one more time, please. And when you have, and the problem is, this is something that when you have parents, of course, this is a rental that's out there, but when you have parents that allow their children to take the golf cart on a joyride, you're asking for trouble. The commission can't legislate that. But we can do the very best that we can possibly do in order to maintain safety in this community. But tonight, I'm not prepared to vote on this. And I would probably think, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the rest of the commission, is that no one is really prepared because we need to look at this. And I think we need to look at it 30 days from now. We need to do some fact-finding, get information, and then come to a reasonable, sensible solution to this.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnes. Can I have my
Ma'am,
gavel back now,
no,
please?
No, ma'am, you cannot.
Yes, I would like my gavel back
No,
now.
because we have a motion on the floor.
Please pass the gavel back. I'd like to withdraw my motion. I made it.
You pass the gavel, and he has the gavel until the motion is considered.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you withdraw your motion?
I would like to withdraw it after the public is given a chance for commentary.
Okay. Please approach the podium. You have three, excuse me, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Gentleman in the back had his hand up. You have 3 minutes to, no problem, that's okay. You have 3 minutes to make your point. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Kyle Pitts. I'm on 1114 New Hampshire Avenue. I think you were referring, Mr. Friend, to 14th Street when you were saying 5th Street, the truck route?
I thought it, Mayor Pro Tem, if I may. I thought I corrected it to say 12th Street, but
that's the neighborhood.
You know, you're right. It's 14th Street.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you bringing that up. I want it to be correct on the record. So it is. I believe it is 14th Street. I'm sorry.
That's the neighborhood I live in, and you said you went around and talked to several people that, families or whatever not that had concerns over there because of that road, the truck route or whatever not.
Yes, sir.
Well, I went around and did my own investigation because a couple months ago, I had my daughter. She was riding the golf cart back there because we thought it was golf cart friendly because, come to find out, North Shore is actually Bay County. So there's signs up all around our neighborhood saying you can ride golf carts. You know what I mean? So we automatically assumed. So we went and purchased a golf cart. We actually rode our golf cart for 6 months, had several Lynn Haven police officers pass us and never say a word because we're on a golf cart. It's our family. We're having fun. We go on these little cruises after school with my family. And I put my 16-year-old in it. She's been riding it for a while. And a neighbor called, and the Lynn Haven police came, and they sent 3 police cars for a golf cart, which is, I don't know, you're talking about speeding down that road. That's your concern. Well, I mean, it's 25. It doesn't matter what comes down the road. You know what I mean? Truck, whatever. But anyway, so I got to talking to the police officer. I told him, I was like, I'm sorry. I thought all this was actually cart friendly because there's signs. He goes, no, if it's a street, if it's a state street, it's not. So anyway, so there's a ton of confusion over there in our neighborhood because I went around and started asking people about it because you got, Halloween night. There's 50 carts running around over there. Nobody says anything about it. There's never been any kind of incidents. I mean, have you all heard of any? Is there any kind of cart incidents? Anybody? No? So I'm just trying to find out. You know, I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of confusion with it because when I go and ask people around the neighborhood, they're like, "We've been riding carts back here for a long time. We've never even been harassed by a police officer." And I said the same thing. I was like, you know, we ride it too. We've never been stopped. But I put my 16-year-old on there, and a neighbor actually called, and you know, the police officer showed up, which I knew. You know, and he kind of explained everything to me. You know what I mean? But I mean, when you get to talking to some of them, they don't even want to have to fool with it because it's a golf cart. I mean, it's not that big a deal. I mean, how can you pull that picture up of that cart on Panama City Beach, they can cross from behind Pier Park over and go grocery shopping across 98 and Back Beach, and how can we not ride around our little neighborhood in Lynn Haven? You know, little friendly family neighborhood, Lynn Haven. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, I don't know, it's kind of mind-boggling, but.
Got 3 seconds.
Are we good? Is that 3 minutes?
Well, you're over with now.
All right, well.
Sorry about that.
Anyway.
But we understand. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I am Rusty Russell. I live at 107 West 3rd Street in Lynn Haven. And the photograph, with all due respect, was obviously a rental. You can see that from the side of the golf cart. Really easy to find somebody that's going to come to Panama City Beach, teenager, college student, to get a picture of one of them, you know, doing something unsafe on a golf cart. The picture's not of a Lynn Haven resident. I could give you tons of pictures of me operating mine. I think the word was reasonably and safely. That's what we're asking. We're asking you to pass an ordinance that would allow us to reasonably and safely operate our golf carts. I've lived at the residence where I am now for about 17 years. I can tell you, I'm really proud that I know all of my neighbors around me. I know my neighbors on the left, the right, across the street. My yard touches theirs. I know them. If I can see them from my yard, I know them. I'm embarrassed to tell you that until I got a golf cart 2 years ago, I didn't know my neighbors beyond that. But that's changed. It's been a neighborhood enrichment, a neighborhood improvement exercise for us. We've loved it. We've gotten to talk to people and meet people that we haven't met before. That's not why we got our golf cart, though. We don't play golf. Never have any intention of playing golf. Don't have the patience. We bought it because our children started having children. And my grandchildren wanted to go to Kensaw Park. So 5th Street's important to me. Maybe we can cross it. There's got to be a way. I love your idea to figure out a way to do that. That's great. So my grandchildren come to town. They visit us from Gainesville. They come. They want to ride in a golf cart. They want to go fishing. My grandson caught his first fish at Kensaw Park after he stepped out of that golf cart. So for us, it's a quality of life issue. It's a quality of a neighborhood issue. So I urge all of you, please go in that direction. Not asking you to do anything tonight, just go in that direction. This is a smart bunch. This is an intelligent community. Surely we can figure out a way to make it safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
I concur with Mr. Russell.
George Avenue, and I hurt my back in Iraq in 2004, and I had a spinal fusion last summer, and I had hip surgery 4 weeks ago. It's hard for me to get in and out of a car, and I've got a 5-year-old daughter and a 2.5-year-old son, and they like to go to the park. Well, it's easy for me to get into that golf cart with my kids and the dog and drive down to the park. It's very hard to get them in the car, strap them in the car seat, get the dog in the truck, but I can go down there. Most of the time I just sit in the house and stare at the wall all day. So hopping in that golf cart and driving around Lynn Haven down to the bay a little bit makes things better than just staring at the wall. And why can't you get the golf carts in, make them, first off, they're about $5,000 a piece, so not just everybody's going to have a golf cart. You can't afford them. And why can't you have to be 16 and have a driver's license to drive them? And when you're talking about the young kids driving a golf cart, well, isn't that a parenting issue? Well, if the young kid could jump in the car as well and drive it, well, you're not going to stop driving cars. I mean, that's a parenting issue. So, I mean, that's just how I feel on it.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, no applause, please. Next. Yes, sir, come on up.
My name is Fred Strickland. I have been a resident of Lynn Haven for 16 years, and just last week I got a new address. I now live at 702 West 6th Street. I am a golf cart enthusiast. I love riding my golf cart. I want to get out and meet my neighbors. I want to ride down to Kensaw Park. You know, I would just really appreciate it if you guys would pass this change of ordinance or whatever it is. I am like you, I'm sure. I can live anywhere in the world I want to live, but I choose to live in Lynn Haven. I love this city. I would love it even more if we would ride golf carts, if I could ride golf carts in my community. I want to meet my new neighbors. I want to be a good neighbor. I want to be a good citizen, and I ask you please to pass this ordinance. Last year, I was diagnosed with a terminal cancer. I would like to spend my remaining time enjoying my life as much as I can, and golf carts would be a big part of that. So please, I ask you to, let's pass this. I do appreciate due diligence. I do appreciate workshops. I do appreciate time to think about it, time to look at the ordinance. But if I may be frank, you've had 2 years.
Thank you. Yes, please, no clapping. We're not going to clap. We're just going to have conversation. Yes, ma'am. Approach the podium.
Joanne Neverett, 109 Lakeview Terrace, Lynn Haven. I currently live in a golf cart-friendly community, and I think it's great you all brought this up again. I'm for it. I do have one comment. There seems to be no regulation or any kind of rules governing bicycles or the, for lack of anything else, the hover rounds or something that the ADA people have to go around in. Sometimes I see bigger hazards with that than I do with the golf carts. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Bob. I'm sorry. My name is Bob Gardner. I live at
Gardner,
Marina Bay.
back up from it
All
just
right.
a little bit.
All right. How's that? Can you
Yes,
still
better.
hear me? Good.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd really like to see y'all pass this resolution or tonight on the golf carts, not for kids. And Mr. Barnes, if you want to take pictures of golf carts and see kids running wild, all you have to do is go out to the country club. And actually, we have one of our owners over here that can attest to that. He rides his bicycle out here at the country club. So anyhow, what we'd like to have is golf carts for seniors, not for kids to play with. We'd like to use them in the streets where we can go and see our friends, as Fred said, to the park, and different places like that. Everybody else is using the golf carts, and we're not having that many problems with them, or if we're having any problems. And basically, y'all are discriminating at the rest against the rest of us, and we'd really like to see that stop. So I agree with Fred. Please pass this motion tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name's William Carr. I live on 1500 Massachusetts Avenue over in the North Ridge subdivision. I spoke against this the last time this came up, and I think a lot of people got the impression that I was totally against golf carts. I'm not against them, but when it came up before, we were talking about crossing 77, we were talking about crossing 390, and I live down on Massachusetts on the south end of 14th Street. And there are heavy trucks that run down through there. There are cars that sometimes from the four-way stop there at Maine all the way back to Massachusetts in the afternoon, cars are backed up. I tend to have a problem with golf carts going across that road, but I understand there's only certain times that the traffic is bad. I would prefer you see that you put this off for 30 days, have a workshop on it, make it informal so that more people can come. I know you usually do about 2 hours on a workshop, and try and get some of this stuff together, get some regulations or ordinances or whatever you want to call it, something that's comprehensive, talk about it. Let us come back in 30 days and everybody sit down and have a good discussion on trying to get this pressed out to where we can maybe please some of the people. Some of them you're not going to, I'm still against 390 because that's fixing to be phased into a 6-lane road. There's no way I want you to go across that road. I don't want to go across 77. I don't even care if it's across Rock out here. I just don't think it's safe. I don't think it's safe that wheelchairs and stuff go across that, but they do understand that. The kids go across it because there's a guard there. That's when they cross the road, and that makes it a little bit more safe. But inside the subdivisions themselves, the neighborhoods, I have no problem with that. But I will tell you that, and I spoke to the police tonight, I had a four-wheeler pass me going south on Massachusetts the other day doing about 35 miles an hour. And according to the police, they've been trying to catch this guy for 3 months. Now, you can only ask your police department to do so much because they only have so many officers. And if they're chasing down four-wheelers, golf carts, or whatever else because somebody's complaining about it, because somebody's going to call and complain, then that takes away from their duties of doing other stuff. And I have seen the police department out there Sunday, I think it was Sunday afternoon or Monday afternoon, they were writing tickets on 14th Street. I saw that 3 different times they had somebody pulled over on that street. And I know they weren't pulling them over to say hello. So they do patrol the streets, but they only have so many resources. But I would just like to see us come back later in a workshop and try and work this out and do it in a civil manner.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Okay, a motion is on the floor, and I understand, Ms. Anderson, you wanted to withdraw your motion?
I don't think I want to withdraw it.
Okay.
I would just like, if I may say something else, I'd like to add to what I've said before. I would like to say that we did have a workshop, which was well attended before, with a PowerPoint. While there was a presentation, it was by our former police chief. It wasn't by the present police chief. There were only 4 golf cart citations issued in the 10-plus years that ordinance has been in effect. And so, in essence, all the motion is asking for tonight, since the attorney has said that we would have to have 2 readings of the ordinance. And so if this were passed tonight, just saying that the ordinance would be centered around the premise of all 25-mile-per-hour streets in Lynn Haven, then that would push it forward so that the ordinance could be perhaps reworked in another workshop. It will take a workshop to reword the ordinance, but we can't even get to that if we don't pass something moving in that direction. So I don't want to withdraw the motion. I don't mean to put anyone on the spot. I respectfully listened to what each commissioner had to say, and I especially thank Commissioner Shad for seconding the motion and at least allowing the discussion to take place tonight. And I also appreciate the comments made by Commissioner Friend that he's willing to look at it in a workshop, and also to Commissioner Ashbrook that he's willing to entertain the motion. I think he said the west side, but I think the people on the east side as well. You know, there are 3 parks that are in Lynn Haven. So if we want to get to where we're headed with the historic district and the walking, vibrant, small town feel, then we don't need to compare ourselves, with all due respect, Commissioner Barnes, to what's happening on the beach. The beach is a different community, a different culture. That was a rental golf cart, and we all know that we have spring break pictures and others. Lynn Haven's a different culture. We have young families with children, grandchildren. We have many senior citizens. We have veterans who've spoken tonight that this would ease their life. We have people who have illnesses that this would give them a benefit. And they really, some of them don't have a lot of time to wait. Some of them are sitting wishing that they could have this enjoyment. So I would just urge, if we just took the first step, that if I could sort of reword the premise, we're not granting permission to immediately ride your golf cart in 25-mile-per-hour zones, but rather could we move forward that we would entertain this motion in a future workshop and push forward to changing the ordinance. So I would just sort of change my motion a little bit if I possibly could get a second to that.
Wait a second. Are you going to withdraw your first motion? Because you can't change a motion.
Well, I really haven't changed the motion. I'm asking for all 25-mile-per-hour streets. But all I'm saying is I was trying to clarify that in doing that, you're not changing anything tonight, because no one can ride their golf carts until you change the ordinance in those areas. So I'm not withdrawing the motion. I was just clarifying it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Mr. Schubert, if you call the roll. Call the roll.
Go ahead.
You have a motion and a second.
Motion and a second, yeah.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
No.
Commissioner Barnes?
No.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
No.
Commissioner Shad?
No. Okay, motion fails.
Thank you.
There's your gavel.
Thank you very much.
I would like, Mayor, would it be appropriate for me to
Madam
follow up
Mayor.
with
Can we have order, please?
Madam
Thank
Mayor,
you. If you're leaving, if we could have order, and I appreciate those of you who came tonight to speak. Now, is someone asking for permission to speak, or?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Ashbrook, I believe.
Yes, I'd like to counter with a motion. My motion would be, and I would be looking for a second, obviously, in a vote. Any question? I've actually written this out, so I'll get it straight. I'm going to make a motion, or would like to have a second of this motion, that the commission schedule a single-issue agenda public meeting to discuss adding additional areas where golf carts can be used, and at the same time discuss changes in the existing golf cart ordinance to bring greater accountability and enforcement methods for improper use of golf carts. That's my motion.
I'll second your motion.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from the board?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor, if I may. Did we want to put a date to the motion? I didn't hear
I
that.
leave that up to the commission.
I would suggest no more than 30 days. That's agreeable.
I don't know, does that need to be a part of the motion, City Attorney?
If that's what the commission wants, is put a restriction
That's
on it less
fine.
than 30 days.
So
then-
Commissioner Friend has asked that there be a date included in the motion. Commissioner
That's
Ashbrook,
fine.
would you like to amend your motion and suggest a date?
I'll put a final caveat in that motion that it be, this meeting be held within the next 30 days.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, so there's been a motion and a second that the meeting, I won't try to do the reverbage of Commissioner Ashbrook's motion, but it will happen in the next 30 days that there be a single issue public workshop to discuss golf carts and all the caveats that we've discussed tonight. So there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any comments from the public? And we have some comments from the public. So yes, you have to come up and state name and address.
Bob Gardner, Marina Bay. I'd like to ask the question, if you come up with a new ordinance, is it going to be, will it apply to all of Lynn Haven, or will you continue to discriminate against certain sections?
That's the purpose of having a meeting, to find out what we're going to do. I couldn't answer that question
Wait,
today.
question, are you going to discriminate or not? You're discriminating now, will you continue?
That's a pretty
That's all
strong
I'm asking.
word. Discrimination.
Yes.
It's Jerry Deal, and I live on 511 Tennessee Avenue. And I would just like to ask the commission why you have to wait 30 days to have a meeting to talk about this. We've got one man that may not have more than 30 days or even 30 days. We've got another one back here that's been punished enough. And why couldn't you work towards getting something for them rather than to sit here and wait 30 days for nothing?
Because we have to do what's best for this city. We can't just appease
You can
one
meet
or
any
two
day
people.
you want to meet.
We need to do what's best for this city, because whatever we do, it's going to last from whenever it's
I understand that,
enacted or not.
again, I understand that.
Okay, well, I mean,
What I
so
don't
surely you
understand
would
is why you-
understand
I
that we
d- I
need to
do.
really think about the future of the city.
It don't take 30 days to think about the future of the
Well,
city.
when you have to think about all
Okay, at this
things
point, we
involved
have
in
a
it.
citizen who's speaking, and I haven't recognized you, Commissioner Barnes. So would you please
I know,
continue what you
it's your
wanted to
mother.
say?
I just wanted to say, I think...
Excuse me. The
No,
person speaking
excuse
is,
me.
you are out of order.
You
The
are
person,
too.
you are out of order.
You are too.
I'm going to tell you one more time.
Tell me one more time.
You are out of order, Commissioner
Yeah,
Barnes.
okay.
You are out of order. The person speaking is my mother, but she has declared... Would you please not interrupt me again?
I could shake my head if I want to.
This meeting is adjourned for 10 minutes.
Let's adjourn now.
For 10 minutes. I'm sorry. The meeting is recessed for 10 minutes. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we will reconvene the City Commission meeting for March 28th after having a 10-minute recess for March 28th. The meeting is now called back to order. Mrs. Deal, you were making a comment. You had about a minute left if you wanted to finish that comment, or you don't have to if you don't want to.
I had 3 minutes.
Go ahead and ask your question again.
I said, how do I decide how long I spoke?
Well, I was watching the clock behind you. You've got about a minute.
How long do I have
You've
to
got about a
speak?
minute left.
All right, I've got a couple of questions I want to ask.
Okay.
First of all, I want to...
And direct your questions to me, and then I'll take them to the board if you have a different one, okay?
I just want to know why that all of you sitting up there, besides the lawyer, he's not making these decisions, I guess, why that you have to wait 30 days to have a workshop for this. A workshop could be planned in 2 days.
And I recognize the impatience. I think that what's happened at this point is that there's been a motion made by Commissioner Ashbrook that we have another workshop because they want to make clarifications before we change the ordinance. It's been seconded by Commissioner Friend, who had also said earlier that he would prefer to have a workshop. So from listening to the discussion, while I can't say how the commission's going to vote, what I'm hearing is that they're wanting to move toward another workshop. And I, too, am impatient that we're having to have another workshop because we had one 2 years ago. We've discussed a lot of the things that I think will be discussed again. But in light of the motion that's been made, that's where our comments have to stay. So you're telling us that you're just impatient with the fact we have to wait 30 more days.
Yes, I'm absolutely impatient.
And I think everybody
and I'm
hears
not because you're impatient, but because I'm impatient.
Okay, got it.
And I don't even have a golf cart.
Got it.
And the other question I want to ask is, why is it fair for Mr. Ashbrook to live in an area where you can ride a golf cart 24 hours a day if you want to? And Mr. Barnes, you live in Mowat Highlands where you can do the same thing. And I don't know who else has got one. I don't think Mr. Shadd has one.
No, I don't.
But most everybody in Lynn Haven lives in an area, a subdivision, where they have complete access to golf carts. And I would like for you guys to really put some thought into this and do what's right for the citizens of Lynn Haven. And I don't even have a golf cart, but that's what I would like to see happen. And thank you now.
Thank you very much. Was there anyone else who wanted to speak to Mr. Ashbrook's motion about waiting 30 days for the, within 30 days to have a workshop and to consider changing the ordinance to expand possibly to other areas? Any other comments? Okay. At this time then, Commissioner Ashbrook, could I ask you if you would just reread your motion since we've been in recess, just for clarification purposes, and then we can go ahead with a vote.
My motion is that the commission schedule a single-issue agenda public meeting, call it a workshop if you wish, but that's what I call it, is public meeting. Workshop's kind of overworked. To discuss adding additional areas where golf carts can be used, and to discuss changes to the existing golf cart ordinance to bring greater accountability and enforcement methods for the improper use of golf carts. This to be done within the next 30 days.
Thank you. And that was already seconded, so that was just for clarification purposes. And then I would also like to direct the city manager to make sure we have that scheduled within the next 30 days. And at this time, would you please call the roll for a vote?
Commissioner Ashbrook? Yes.
Commissioner Shadd?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so that motion has passed, and we will be revisiting this, and we'll also make sure that it is advertised well so that everyone can take part. So thank you, gentlemen, for that lively discussion. Move on now to new business. Item number 11, which is Resolution 2017-03-678, which is the infrastructure surtax. If I could ask the city manager to please read that resolution for us.
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, authorizing the proceeds from the local government infrastructure surtax be used by the city to finance, plan, or construct projects that will repair local roads and adjacent infrastructure.
Thank you. Is there a motion for possible action on this resolution?
Also move.
Second. And I'll second.
Been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about the infrastructure surtax from the rest of the board?
Yes.
So any questions from the board? Comments? Any questions or comments from the public? Okay, at this time, Mr. Schubert, then would you please call the roll for approval of Resolution 2017-03-678, the infrastructure surtax?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So this resolution is approved. And then we're at our final item for the evening, which is public commentary, in which any member of the audience may speak to any subject that you wish. I do apologize that at one point in the meeting, I felt the need to call a recess this evening, but sometimes government, even at the city level, becomes spirited and the discussions lively, and that's what makes our democracy worth living in. And so if you have further comment that you'd like to make this evening, please feel free to do that now. Yes, sir. You would please give us your name and address.
Hi, James M. Oakley, 1208 Massachusetts Avenue, Lynn Haven, 32444, military designator 1101. I'm joking. I have something to bring, but before I do, two things I wanted to say. The vet that was here earlier, God love him.
Yes.
God love him. I told him to go to his doctor, get a medical necessity note, ride your cart, if that's what makes you feel good. Ma'am, I'm sorry that you felt the way you did those few moments. I apologize to you. Yes. Now, my matter of concern is this. My life has been a lot in the field, and I'm just starting to live here all the time. I love this place so much. I'm a risk manager. One of the things I'm bringing to you tonight, we have a problem with the facility we invited to our town, General Dynamics. I've had two instances, and I had a dear friend who's going to be here tonight who owns a company here based in Lynn Haven. She just had an incident where it nearly took out her and her family. Which I'll speak to my own incident. Twice in a week, I was nearly run over at my mailbox getting my paper. Last time, I was quick enough to get to my truck and follow the vehicle. I knew where it went. Went inside the General Dynamics facility, approached the desk with a business card, and I'm dressed, and I thought the officer was going to draw his weapon. I said, can I please speak to a member of management, thinking there would be an HR team, I could address the issue, they could have a handout, you know, how to go through neighborhoods. I was told, you can get out of here or you'll be arrested. Wow, what have we got in our neighborhood? So I would like for you group to consider, when does this thing come up for renewal? How much do we make on it? Because in my estimation, when you judge risk, each certain number of risk produces an end product. In the marine business, every 600 near misses yields a bad event. We're getting real close to that bad event in the neighborhood. I'm not sure that gunplay that we had a while back wasn't as a result of somebody being flipped off on the way in or from work, and that argument continuing later down the road. It's a daily event now. Passing cars on 14th and on my street, Massachusetts. Passing them. Running and grabbing kids and pulling them out of the way. And to go to the facility and be told, yeah, your police department can't even come in here. So it's a problem. It's going to happen. Not necessarily when, but somebody's going to get killed or hurt or commit an act of violence based on that place being here. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I see our city manager taking notes, and our police chief is here.
Mayor, if I could make a
yes,
comment?
sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. In some of my golf cart work, I talked to a couple of residents over on that road, and it seems that I think our police department is already making a presence over there, but I do have some thoughts and ideas that I'm going to get with the city manager on and follow up with that, just so you know.
Thank you. Did anyone else have an issue you wanted to discuss this evening during public commentary? There appears to be none. Anyone else on the board have any comments this evening before we dismiss? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for coming.